This is one of my favorite types of cookies, boasting crispy edges and a chewy interior. I've included plenty of gooey molasses, dark brown sugar, a blend of my favorite warm spices, and plenty of fresh ginger to make the best chewy ginger cookies that are perfect for the holiday season, or really, any season. And if you're new here, I'm Maggie. This is No Frills Kitchen, where I teach you how to cook with confidence with nothing fancy required.
This is a pretty straightforward cookie recipe that isn't particularly complicated, but you will need either a hand mixer or a stand mixer to put it together. So to start out, we're going to mix together our dry ingredients. In a medium-sized bowl, mix together your flour, some baking soda, salt, and your warm spices. I use an array of different spices because I think they complement the cookies well. I include the classics of cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg, and clove. However, I also like to throw in a bit of floral cardamom and some freshly ground black pepper for an additional little kick. The pepper may seem odd, but I promise that it's very well at home with everything else. Whisk the dry ingredients together and set them aside until they're needed. Now, I also recommend grating your fresh ginger in advance to mixing so then you can quickly add it to everything in the bowl when you're assembling your dough. I don't typically peel my ginger, but you can go ahead if this freaks you out. You want a full 2 tablespoons of grated fresh ginger. This amounts to about 50 grams of whole ginger. Next, it's time to cream together your butter, brown sugar, and molasses. Particularly if you're using a hand mixer, it's essential that your butter is at room temperature before you start. Take it out of the fridge along with your eggs about an hour before you plan to start baking. In a large mixing bowl or the bowl of a stand mixer, add your butter, your dark brown sugar, and molasses. Mix it on low just to incorporate and then scrape down the sides of the bowl. Then turn your mixer to medium-high speed and cream the butter and sugar until it's aerated and pale in color. This will be about 2 minutes. It may be less if you're using a stand mixer or more if you're using a hand mixer. Make sure that you're periodically scraping down the bowl to ensure everything is evenly mixed. Once you've reached this stage, add your room temp eggs, your grated ginger, and some vanilla extract. Mix all of this together on medium speed just until everything is smooth. It may end up looking kind of curdled at first, but this is normal. Just mix until it looks relatively cohesive. Then go ahead and scrape down the sides of your bowl and add your dry ingredients. On low speed to avoid a massive flour plume, mix the dry ingredients into the wet until just combined. You can even finish combining with a spatula if you want to avoid overmixing your cookies, which is actually what I'd recommend. Once the flour is incorporated, cover the mixture with plastic and move it to the refrigerator for at least an hour and up to a few days. This will help firm up the dough before rolling out. After your dough is sufficiently chilled, it's time to get rolling. Preheat your oven to 180°C, 350°F, line some baking sheets with parchment, and then put some granulated sugar or demerara sugar like I'm using into a small dish for rolling the dough balls into. Then portion out the dough into 25-gram pieces and then roll them into spheres with your hands. Roll each ball in the granulated sugar and then place it on the baking sheet, ensuring there's at least 5 centimeters or 2 inches of space in between each cookie. If you want to freeze the cookie dough, now is the time to do it. Put the baking sheets uncovered in the freezer and then freeze until the dough balls are solid. Then you can transfer them to an airtight container or a freezer bag. Afterwards, you can bake them directly from frozen. Just make sure to add about 2 minutes extra onto the bake time. Speaking of, after you've portioned your cookies, transfer them to the oven and bake for about 8 to 10 minutes. You'll notice that they look dry and slightly crisp around the edges, but still very soft in the middle. Transfer the cookies to a wire rack to cool. And that's it. If you liked this recipe, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss my next videos. Enjoy!